Join us, Alix and Colleen, self-proclaimed fake it till you make it experts as we navigate the highs and lows of being a woman and how the pressure and overwhelm of trying to do it all often leads to feeling like an imposter in our own lives. Welcome.
We're here. We have been thinking about this for, I don't know,
6 months.
Has it been?
Who knows? Let's say 6 months.
Um,
Feels like it.
Do you have imposter syndrome?
I do. I definitely feel like an imposter because I have never done this before.
Neither have I. So the question is, you and I, so I was thinking about this today. You and I are both very talented at branding, at marketing, at social media, at graphic design. We're creative people. What made us do a podcast on imposter syndrome of all things? Like, why are we sitting here talking about graphic design? Why aren't we talking about marketing?
Honestly, I don't think you can talk about creative fields without talking about imposter syndrome because in my opinion, in my experience, the two live intertwined.
Good point. Creative people have imposter syndrome. And it's funny because there was one point, by the way, I'm Colleen O'Day.
This is Alix
Robinson. So before we get too deep into this, I want to tell you what I think of Alix. How's that?
Oh.
And Alix is probably going to run and hide.
Yes, I am.
But I'm going to talk a little bit, first of all, about what I thought of Alix before we really got to know each other.
This could be good.
It's gotten better. It's gotten better. But here's the thing, because I reached out to you at the beginning of the pandemic. And what I saw online is one of the coolest women I've ever seen. Alix is cool. She's stylish. You're artistic. You're my style of person. You're who I want to be. You're who I'd like. I emulate a person like this. You're a pretty cool person. I saw this person online who knew what she was talking about, who would get on stories and talk about marketing and talk about social media. And I'm like, oh God, this girl really knows her shit. And the pandemic hit and I reached out to you and we started, Zoom calling once a week so that we could support one another. But I saw this really cool person that I wanted to align with. What do you see?
I definitely aspire to be the things that you're describing me as.
Yeah.
But I never feel like I actually quite get there, So I want to be considered cool. I want to be considered someone that knows what they're talking about. But half the time I'm in that like fake it till you make it mode.
Yeah.
So the fact that, it was believable.
Oh,
it's great.
If you're faking it, you're faking it really well, like really, really well. And I think that, we've talked about this, and I think this is what led us to imposter syndrome. What do you think about women working in this?
Well, wait, before we do that, let me say what I thought about you.
Oh God.
Because it's very similar. I had been following you for a long time and was super intimidated.
Intimidated.
Yeah, because you're, really well known and you know a lot of people and you're really connected in a lot of different circles. A lot of the circles that I was sort of, coveting from afar.
I'm trying not to be uncomfortable with what you're saying, but I can feel myself shrinking. I'm like, oh, I know you're saying nice things, but I'm like turning it on myself. Okay.
But I was feeling like an imposter in that I didn't think I belonged in those circles. And still some of the time I really don't know that I do or feel that I do. But so when you reached out to me, I was like, oh my goodness, like she's famous. And I'm like this little nobody.
That's funny.
I felt like, holy, now this is intimidating. Like I got to live up to something or be somebody or whatever. I mean, it ended up not being like that at all. And it's been like one of the best friendships I've ever had. But so I saying all that, what do you see?
Oh gosh. We'll talk about the types of imposters in a moment. But I hear people all the time saying to me, oh my gosh, you're so great online, or you do this so well, or you do that so well. And I am so uncomfortable by it. I want to be as good as people think I am. And I don't know how to explain that sometimes. I feel like fraud. I work with a lot of bloggers and influencers who sometimes look up to me only because I've been around for the longest time doing it, or one of the longest. Well, there's a couple of us in influencer marketing locally who've been around, for the same amount of time, I guess. But people turn to me for answers, and I'm looking at them like, I don't have the answers. I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I just do stuff and I feel like it just shows up, or it just happens, or I'm lucky, or it's fluky. And I forget that I actually worked hard.
Yeah,
I don't see the same person. I don't see the person with knowledge. I don't see the person who seems to have it all together. I don't feel like that. I feel like I'm just arsing around, and if I'm just, stuff's happening because it happens.
I agree. I still find it funny when people ask me questions like I'm an authority on it, but I always have the answers. So I'm like, what will it take?
I know that's
to actually believe that we know what we're talking
that we
about.
know what we're talking about. And I think that, we've talked about this, and I think this is what led us to imposter syndrome. There was, coming out of the pandemic, it's been really difficult with work. Trying to figure out what we're wanting to do. You've had a little bit more success with work than I have probably. But I sat down one day and we were in this coffee shop, and I said, oh my God, I think I have to get a job. And then both of us were like, ooh, a job. Like, what would we do? Do you remember that conversation? We were like, what would we do? We have so many talents. And yet here we were going, what would we do? Like, if I had to get a job, how do I apply for a job? What are my talents? And it was pure imposter syndrome smacked us in the face that day. And we were sitting over there in the corner. And I think that was the day that we really got rolling with this imposter syndrome idea. You then went away on the weekend. We were meeting on a Monday morning or something, and you came back and you're like, I've got the name. I've drilled it all out. I've got this idea.
Yeah, it all came together pretty quickly. And I think it's because I was thinking about a lot of the problems that our clients that we work with have in terms of trying to show up in social media and feeling like they don't deserve to take up that space or talk about the things that they're talking about, and us also feeling that way about ourselves and thinking that it's such a common condition or phenomenon or whatever, however you want to refer to it, that affects so many people, mostly women, according to all the research, but not only women. Who feel, not worthy of saying what they have to say, or don't feel like what they have to say is important enough, or
But what you're saying is making total sense. And because we hear this from people all the time, because not only are we going to be talking about imposter syndrome, but we're talking about imposter syndrome in this age of social media. I think social media has made it harder for all of us imposters.
I also think too, in creative industries, a lot of times the metrics are so gray. It's really hard to qualify what success is in creative fields.
Yeah.
So that can cause a lot of imposter syndrome in just like trying to figure out if what you're producing or what the return on investment is, even the nature of social media metrics, which are not reliable and not consistent and constantly changing, and in a lot of ways not a true measure of success if your success is sales and conversion or even connection. So it can be really hard to get wrapped up in, what is performing well or what is success, I guess. And I think that is a global phenomenon. At least for the women that we've spoken to. I know that ever since we started talking about doing this podcast, so many people have come to us through messages or in person or, DMs, whatever, saying how they cannot wait to hear this podcast because it's so relatable.
Yeah. And imposter syndrome is different than not being confident for a moment. Like you can have a project on the go and you're not feeling very confident about it. That's perfectly normal. Imposter syndrome is more of that chronic, every single time you go to do something, you just don't feel good enough. You feel like you're faking it all the time. You feel like, if you're in a business setting and somebody asks for your opinion, you give your opinion and you feel, you know your stuff, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh man, I'm going to be found out. Like they're going to, any minute now, the shoe's going to drop. You get called in for a performance review. you walk out of there with a phenomenal performance review, but going into that performance review, you think, here we go, gonna be fired.
Yeah, always gonna be fired.
Always gonna be
Be
fired.
fired.
Gonna be fired. Imagine, like, that is an uncomfortable way to live. So we're going to be speaking this podcast about other women who feel the same way, and to try and combat some of this stuff, and to talk about this is normal, and to talk about some ways of overcoming imposter syndrome. We're just not going to talk about, yeah, we all have imposter syndrome, we all suck. We're not just going to be talking about that. It's going to be also about overcoming it. And what
Yeah.
kind of imposter are you?
I don't know. You have to tell me the kinds.
Okay, so I'll go through them all. So, and then I don't know what I am either. I think I'm a combination of a couple. So there's a Dr. Valerie Young. She actually started talking about imposter syndrome in the 80s. And she has, I think it's called the Imposter Clinic or the Imposter Institute. And she's written several books on imposter syndrome. And she came up with these 5 categories. So I'm going to go through them. There's the perfectionist. Perfectionist's primary focus is on how something is done. It includes how the work is conducted and how it turns out. One minor flaw in an otherwise stellar performance, so 99 out of 100, and it equals a failure in your eyes. Do you think you're a perfectionist? That's not me either. No,
I'm cool with, like, a certain percentage of shittiness.
I am too. I was never, and the perfectionists, they go through it and they say, you set really high goals for yourself. And if you don't achieve them, then you think you failed. I set high goals, but if I don't achieve, I want to achieve them, but I don't have to achieve everything to the highest level. You have difficulty delegating. And if you do, you get disappointed with the results. If you do delegate and they don't.
I mean, I definitely have some of that for sure.
And I think that's part of it. Like, I was looking at, to me, these 5 categories that we're going to go through, it's like pizzas. Like, there's the meat lovers pizza, and then there's the vegetarian, and then there's the ham and pineapple. And sometimes you mix things up a little bit and you add pineapple to the meat. Like, there's bits and pieces out of everything. A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
The expert. This is what I think I am.
Okay.
So the expert, not that I think I'm an expert, is that you don't think you're an expert. Anyway, hang on. The expert is the knowledge version of the perfectionist. For the expert, the primary concern is on what and how much you know or can do. So because you expect to know everything, even a minor lack of knowledge denotes failure and shame.
I definitely can identify with that one.
Yeah.
I won't say until I hear them all
Okay, I'll tell
where
you
I lie, but I definitely resonate. That resonates.
Yeah, because this one, you feel you're afraid of being found out. You're afraid of lacking knowledge. You avoid applying to a job unless you meet every requirement. This is a huge thing with me with applying for jobs. And do you know that women, I read this thing about women, that women will read down through a job description and will be like, oh, I don't know how to do 2 of those things. I can't apply for a job. Men will read it and go, oh, I know how to do 2 of them. I'll apply. Like, we really don't apply for these jobs unless we know everything. And that's me. You cringe when somebody calls you an expert.
100%.
Oh, yeah. You're constantly trying to learn to keep up to date. But what ends up happening is, because you keep putting things off because you don't know enough yet, you need to learn and you need to learn. It looks like you're procrastinating all the time because you can never launch.
Well, and that can get overwhelming too when you're trying to know everything about everything.
Yeah.
And that can just lead to complete shutdown.
Soloist cares mostly about who completes the task to make it on the achievement list. It has to be you and you alone, because you think you need to do it. You think you need to do and figure out everything on your own. Needing help is a sign of failure.
That's not really me. I'm not afraid to reach out to people who understand more about certain elements of what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm happy to ask for help. But the soloist feels like if they asked for help in any way, or if they got a job because somebody helped them get the job, or any of these things, that they're a complete failure, and they have no worth.
I think I used to resonate a little bit more with that. But when I started my business, I kind of had this talk with myself that I'm going to be really transparent with people if I don't understand something, because that actually makes me feel more confident than trying to pretend I know something about something I don't.
Okay, the 4th type is called natural genius. The natural genius cares about how and when accomplishments happen. For the natural genius, competence is measured in terms of ease and speed. The fact that you have to struggle to master a subject or skill, or that you're not able to bang out your masterpiece on the first try, means you're a failure.
I mean, there's parts of that I really resonate with too, particularly when it comes
Right.
to like creating content,
Mm.
reels and things like that, when it doesn't go exactly how perhaps I've envisioned it, or I've seen somebody else, execute in a way that I feel like I should be able to, and then I can't.
Mm.
I do get really frustrated with that. I wouldn't say that I fall entirely into that category, but I may take a couple toppings from that one.
I take some toppings from that one too. That's kind of the pineapple for me on
Yeah.
the pizza. Well, most people hate pineapple on
I'm
pizza.
a fan.
I'm a fan too. So that to me is like a couple of little bits on my pizza are this, because because you just want to be the natural genius is the person that always got the straight A's and the
Yeah, that wasn't me.
stars, and it wasn't me either, except lots of times I do look at things, and I think the social media stuff is the big one. The reels probably are the big one, that you're looking at people doing it and you're like, I can't do that, so I won't.
Yeah.
Because if I can't do that perfect, and those people are practicing.
Oh, that's the
Over
thing. I
and
mean,
over.
and once you actually get into a groove of it and get better at it, it certainly comes off as effortless.
Yeah.
Which is what we have to remember about all things.
I know, everything. So we're taking that's some of the pineapple on our pizza. And then there's the superhuman. So I fall into a little superhuman too. There's a little bit on my pizza as well. The superhuman measures competence based on how many roles they can juggle and excel in. Falling short in any role, so as a manager, team member, parent, partner, friend, volunteer, all evoke shame because they feel they should be able to do it all.
Yes. It's funny. My son said to me tonight, do you think I'll ever come up on your podcast? And I was like, oh, I'm sure parenting and imposter syndrome and parenting will make an appearance or two. So I definitely have, I can resonate with that as well.
I watch lots of people, and it's like, and I remember years ago, I think it's changed a little bit as I've gotten into my mid 40s to now maybe. But when the kids were young, I had to volunteer for the school stuff. I was on the PTA. I had to be involved in hockey. I had to be involved in volleyball. I was chasing the kids around. I needed to put the meal on the table and cook the dinner and have a job and if I wasn't perfect at all of those, I was a massive failure.
Yeah, I think, I think a lot of women particularly feel that way, trying to balance careers and family life, and to, try to have some semblance of your own life as well. I think there's a lot of people that will probably fit into at least parts of that category.
I think so too. I think so too. For me, I think I resonate big time with the expert.
Yeah, I
think that's my big one.
I'm the expert with a side of natural genius and a side of superhuman.
A little side of superhuman, couple of little bits of pineapple, little bits of natural genius on top. That's me. That's my pizza.
We really are imposter sisters.
I know, it's true. We are, and I'd researched these. You hadn't really read too much on this stuff. So
you should tell us.
What is your pizza? Let us know your pizza.
Yeah, let us know your combo. So did you say that there was a online survey that you could take as
there is? Yeah. I took a look at some of the stuff from Dr. Valerie Young. We'll put a link up.
Yeah, we'll put it in our show notes.
We have show notes now.
We haven't figured out how to do show notes yet, but when we do, it'll be in there.
My God, we're such imposters.
We're just winging it.
What are we doing?
All right.
So those are those. One of the ways to combat imposter syndrome is to actually listen to how awesome the people in your life think you are. If you're looking for the perfect gift for a loved one, where you can tell them all of the things that make them special, visit my Drawbridge Creative Etsy shop and purchase a Things We Love About You custom poster. With several styles to choose from, it's a fabulous gift for any milestone birthday, anniversary, retirement, or just because. All right.
So, Colleen, why are we doing this?
I don't know. So there's a couple of whys for me. I wanted to do a project with you.
Yeah, that also is one of my whys.
Yeah, that's a why for me, is I wanted to do a project with you. I also wanted to talk to other women about this. I mean, I've had some mental health struggles this year, and this has come up with my psychologist a few times, and I just wanted to talk to more people about mental health issues.
I think this is something that affects almost everyone in one way or another. So I like the idea of talking about it a little bit more and maybe bringing to light some of the obstacles that people face, particularly in my case, when it comes to showing up on social media, because that's sort of my niche in terms of what I'm trying to do and coach people with. And a few of the things that I've had to overcome in order to build my own presence.
Yeah.
And still struggle to overcome. But I think it's just something that not very many people talk about, although everybody seems to feel some level of involvement with.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the more that, as we've been talking to people, it's a neat topic.
But I just want to help more women feel comfortable talking about their expertise, because a lot of people also feel really awkward talking about themselves or talking about what they know or sharing their knowledge, because a lot of people feel like no one wants to hear it, or they don't have anything else to offer that isn't already out there, or that people aren't going to want to hear what they have to say. And really, very rarely is any of that true.
Oh, very rarely.
It's usually the opposite.
Absolutely, usually the opposite. There's always somebody that's, going to that can learn something from you.
And we want to hear how people have overcome these struggles through their professional lives and personal lives, because a lot of people have, battled with imposter syndrome for years, but have found ways to overcome those insecurities or those negative self-talk or limiting beliefs, whatever term you want to use, to then progress in their careers regardless.
Yes.
So we want to talk to people about how they've done that and give that also to other people to help them build their confidence, and to know that imposter syndrome is not a permanent state. It is something that we will fly in and out of probably our entire lives.
We'll wave through it. Yeah.
But if you understand some of the coping mechanisms that others have used, and also if you feel like you're not alone, so one of the easiest ways to overcome imposter syndrome is to realize that it's imposter syndrome.
Exactly. Another why for me was we were at we were at Swell conference in October. And I was interviewing the keynote speaker, Jennifer Crawford, phenomenal person, phenomenal human. And it's the first time I did something like that. And I sat on a couch like this, and I was having this conversation, and I don't know how many people were in the room, 80 people in the room. And about halfway through my conversation with Jennifer, I realized I absolutely loved what I was doing. I loved the conversation. I loved the interview style. I loved that we were opening up with one another. And by the time the conversation ended and I went and sat down at my table, I realized I wanted to do more of this. I loved it. Serving up hot brews, refreshing cold drinks, lots of fresh baked goodies, and delicious lunch options. Visit the Mellow Mug in the heart of Larry UTech for dine-in, takeout, or drive-through service. Their spacious cafe offers a casual and inviting vibe that's perfect for everything from enjoying a good book, hanging with friends, or meeting a colleague. The Mellow Mug is your neighborhood spot for great coffee and delicious eats and sweets. Yeah, so we're in the Mellow Mug. We're going to it's so gracious of them to allow us to use this place after hours. It's a beautiful spot.
If you hear some humming in the background, it's because their fridges are here.
That's the thing. We're going to do our best with the sound control and all of this stuff, but I don't know that we're ever going to be able to 100% get the fridge sound out of here, but there's a fridge here.
We'll give a little tour afterwards just so you can see how eclectic this space is, but it is just such a special environment, and the food and the drinks, it's a very amazing place. So we couldn't think of a better place for us to actually do this podcast, since it was sort of born here.
It was born here. And then when we spoke to them about it, they were Marquesa, the owner. What a phenomenal woman. And she was just all over it. She was like, yeah, perfect. She'd love to do this. So cheers to the Mellow Mug and their sponsorship for this.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for letting us muddle our way through this first episode.
We are muddling a little.
We are muddling.
That's okay. We're allowed to muddle.
Give us grace. We're imposters.
We're imposters. All right, Alex, here's the next kind of thing we should talk about. What should people expect from this podcast over this season?
Well, we have a really great guest list already, but we're always looking for new guests. If you would like to come talk to us about your experiences with imposter syndrome, we would love to talk to you about it. The thing I think that is going to be really magical is that everybody is going to have a different experience with it and a different way of coping. And it's going to be really interesting to see how it presents itself for other people. We've got people in different professions. We've got other entrepreneurs. We've got other creative entrepreneurs. We've got high achieving female leaders. So it's going to be really interesting, because what I really think is going to be surprising is how many people have it that you would never, ever guess.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that normalizes it. It will normalize it for all of us.
So something that we're going to do for every guest is what we're calling this sort of final speed round, where we're just going to pick out these random questions and our guests are going to have to answer them really quickly. And it's going to be this fun way to kind of get to know people and close out each episode. So we're going to start with ourselves.
We're going to start with ourselves. So we're going to close out each week with 5 questions. So we've got a list of like 30, but I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3. I'm proving that I can count on this.
All right, these are the ones I'm asking you.
That's what you're asking me.
Okay.
I feel like 3, 4. I
don't
think I
even
have
remember
5.
what these are, even though we came up with them.
Okay. Who's asking who first? You want me to go for it?
Sure.
Okay. Do you have any tattoos?
Many.
Many. Yeah. Bunch. Okay. What's your favorite word? Do you have a favorite word?
You know, I really love the word bizarre.
Well, that's bizarre.
I know. I don't ever say it, but people that say it, I really admire them. Like, I want that to be part of my language.
That's a good word. What's a good spy code name for you?
Oh my. Agent Cranky.
Agent Cranky. What was your favorite subject in school?
Math.
Math. What time do you go to bed?
Later than I should.
That's a good answer. All right, hit me with the 5.
All right, you're up. What time do you wake up?
Oh, when I wake up. I don't set an alarm. I wake up when I wake up.
What is your favorite body part?
Me or somebody else?
You.
What's my favorite body part? My arms, my wrists, the lower arms, not the upper arms.
Well, you do have lovely wrists.
Thank you. Notice my wrists. I don't know what to say.
What is a subject you'd like to learn more about?
Podcasting.
What word do you have trouble pronouncing?
Oh, what word do I have trouble pronouncing? Doppelganger.
Doppelganger.
Is it ganger or danger?
Doppelganger.
Doppelganger.
It's not doppelganger.
That's something else.
That is not this kind of podcast. Describe your style in one word.
Oh, casual, comfy.
That's 2 words.
Oh. That's
right.
fun. That's a fun way
That
to
is
end it.
fun.
All right.
I like those. So they're not always going to be the same every episode. We have a bunch.
No.
And we'll take requests too. So if you have cool final speed round questions, submit them to us. We'd love to have them.
That's a little bit about us and a little bit about what you could expect from this podcast. And next time we'll be here with a guest. So thanks, Alix. That was fun.
It was fun.
All right. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Imposter Sisters. Please remember, we're not doctors or mental health experts. If you're looking for mental health guidance, please see our show notes for local resources. We'd like to thank our location sponsor, the Mellow Mug, located at 64 Delridge Lane, for donating this amazing space for us to have these important chats and for supplying us with drinks and goodies. Please give them a follow and make sure to stop in to see this beautiful spot for yourself. Until next time, keep your head high and we will see you next Tuesday. Are you looking to up your social media game? Social media can be intimidating and overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. At Every Day on Branding, we truly believe that every day is an opportunity to showcase your brand through authentic and aligned social media strategy and content. Whether you're looking for done-for-you social management
or monthly strategy sessions, the team at Everyday on Branding can help you reach your ideal audience in a way that feels aligned and drives conversion. If you'd like to have the Imposter Sisters come into your business and help you and your team get comfortable creating social media content, ask us about our new Keen to Screen program, a value-packed social media training for anyone that is looking to up their social media presence, either as a solopreneur or to empower their team to be impactful brand ambassadors.